Hey, hi everyone. My name is Pavel, and if you have seen my previous videos, you would by now know that I'm trying to create videos of questions that I think would be asked during different stages of your interview, especially if you're applying for a front-end role. So as part of the video today, I'm going to cover deepClone, which to me is uh, a question that usually tests you on your fundamentals of JavaScript and understanding the data types within JavaScript. So before you start resolving, it's always important that you clarify the scope of the question. What all values data types are going to be compared and cloned. You need to check if we're going to do it for date, we're going to do it for map, set, symbols and proxies and others. Usually, if I were to ask this, I would keep the scope simple and only look at arrays and objects, but ask the person what would they do if we have to do this for map, set, and other data types. So let's get started. Very important that based on my experience that please always clarify all your questions before you jump into writing the code. I've made that mistake and I've seen others also make that mistake. So let's first start with comparing array. Why cloning array? Why do we start with array? Because array is an object data type under the hood. So if you would check for an object and check it against an array, it's going to come true. So you first check for an array, then check for an object. That way you don't get into this issue where while you're checking for object, you also are looking at arrays. So how do we check for an array? So if array is array of value, so all you're going to do is return a new array, and we would use map for it. And we will use recursion and call deepClone by passing the new value, which is the item. So it's going to get you a new array, and it's going to recursively do a deepClone. So this is array. Now let's do it for object. So what do we do over here? So in case of object, we can't do what we did with array. So we have to create a new object, and we are going to iterate through the existing object. I'm going to use the let key in value, and as you must have seen in one of my previous videos, the for loop over here runs through the prototype chain, and you want to only check for the direct children. So you can do value has on property key, and only run it for the direct children. And what you're going to do over here is take the new object that you have created, use the key, and deep clone the value which is there in the existing object, which is value of key. So you're going to clone and insert that into your new object, and you're going to return this over here. Last one is you're just going to return a value. So as you must have seen, my solution is not factoring in data types like date. If you were asked to do that for the date, then you would need to create a new date object and return that. You would need to use the value of the existing date and create a new date object, check for instance of date. That's one thing. The next one would be that if it's map, you would use the same approach as an array, which is iterate through it and recursively do a cloning. If it's a set, do the same thing. So you can extend this for other data types, but as you might see, my solution over here is only handling arrays and objects, and all you're doing is returning the value at the end. So let's try running the test for this. All the primitive data types, objects, and nested objects did run successfully. And let's run the further tests, and everything was successful. Cool. So this is deepClone, a simple one. Always remember to ask your interviewer the scope, and then go towards building the solution. Thank you, folks.